If there's something that you shouldn't wait for, it's the global economic collapse. It won't send you a warning signal. It will arrive unannounced. It's going to shake up your entire lives. But without preparation, you will end up being part of the majority who suffers. Instead, taking precautions today will ensure the best possible outcome without relying on another group of people to assist you. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, we're going to look at the asynchronous global economic collapse. It's going on today and will only continue to get worse. What you're looking at here is the share of median income needed to purchase the average home. And you could see the difference in between the states, whether we're looking at California at 39%, Florida has 24%, and you can go around the map and see the others. But obviously, different areas have different prices. There's also people making more income in certain areas, but break it down further when you go to the city level, and it becomes even more dramatic because California is a big state, and you could say that it's a very different scenario in San Francisco than many other cities. Obviously, it's very overpriced. Even though people generally make more money in San Francisco than some other cities, let's say in the middle of the United States, we still find the fact that there is a wide gap in between the rich and the poor. All right, so we're looking at this here today versus 1995 to 2003 average. All right. There's a great disparity in places like California, as you can see from this map where we look around. And it seems to me that we have an abundance, an absolute abundance of overstimulation in real estate. That's very clear to me right now. And that's what we're looking at here on this chart. National payment to income ratio. All right, so this chart shows us that we can see the bluish line is payment to income ratio, and the other is Freddie's 30-year fixed interest rate, and we see that increasing over the last little while. Over the past couple years, in fact, we've seen this rate going up, notching up further, heading towards the 5% mark. Over the next few months, perhaps, we'll see how that goes. But the payment to income ratio also has not been this bad since the financial crisis. This is low. Compared to other countries around the world, it's low. But it is at the point again at which we will see it starting to break people's backs. And for those who don't know, just to clarify, the national payment to income ratio is the share of median income needed to make the monthly principal and interest payment on the purchase of an average price home using a 20% down, 30-year fixed rate mortgage at the prevailing interest rate. This is interesting because a lot of people aren't putting 20% down, so it's actually much worse than that. They're not taking into account anything else, but this indicator on its own shows us that we are back to the levels of the financial crisis. Real median household income in the United States, that's the blue line, you could see has barely, just barely notched upward. And the red line is the median sales price of houses sold in the US. And that has been going crazy over the years. This chart shows us back from the 60s up until today. But even if we're just going to look at it from, let's say, the year 2000 and onward, or after the financial crisis and onward, it has gone up. But wages haven't done so. And that is the ultimate crisis that nobody seems to figure, because they see their wages going up at 2% a year, maybe even 5% a year, and it doesn't really justify the growth in other things like their house, like their rent, like their food, like their electricity and their gas bill and so on. This here just shows us specifically in California. As you could see, yes, the wages have come up ever so slightly. These are real wages, by the way, inflation adjusted. And then you look at the prices of homes. They're ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Households unable to consistently access or afford food. Renters, 30%. Homeowners, 19%. This is a study out of the Urban Institute, and they've made some very interesting claims in here. There's a few charts going along with the CNBC article, but you have to think about that. The most essential things in anyone's life are their food, their shelter, maybe their energy to be able to heat their home, to be able to cool their home. And yet we have large numbers of people, 40 million plus, who need the government to eat. 40 million plus. Energy prices, too expensive. People are living in the bad parts of town. People are living in their RVs. People are living in their vans. They're living in tents. And these tent cities continue to grow. At the same time, you see house prices increasing. Why aren't people working the average job able to afford the average home or the average rent? How does that not correlate anymore? I'm not talking about individuals working the average job, being able to afford, a 6-bedroom home with a pool and it's modern and it's brand new. No. Average home, average worker, average family, everything average doesn't correlate anymore. Central bankers have completely screwed this system. They've ruined it and it's not coming back anytime soon. This is talking about Robert Shiller, who you know. In the next article, actually, I already showed you this, but I just wanted to quote this. Now that home price growth has slowed for 5 straight months, there appears to be no question that the U.S. housing market is taking a turn. There is a sign of weakness that we're starting to see. It reminds me of 2006 or 2005, maybe. That's something that can't continue. All right, the housing market has a momentum problem. We are seeing a clipping of momentum at this time. It's hard to identify turning points even in the housing market. It has been going up linearly for 6 years now. That's something that cannot continue. And I completely agree with that. It has to start to turn over. And in fact, we've seen that in many cases. All right. In here, they basically talks about the same issues. It's probably from the same interview, but he said this: if the markets go down, it could bring on another recession. The housing market has been an important element of economic activity. If people start getting pessimistic about housing and pull back and don't want to buy, there will be a drop in construction jobs, and that could seed another recession. We're overdue for a recession. This is for many-fold here. You need to think about what's happening with the mortgage rates, obviously a big factor. You need to look at the jobs that are surrounding this. Like he said, the construction jobs. But what about the mortgage lenders? What about the banks? What about the real estate agents? What about the people that are going to help you get a new granite countertop and the appliance manufacturers? And you want some tiles for your property and you want to put a deck outside. What about the lumber involved? Where's the lumber coming from? Are you treating the lumber? That's a product that needs to go on top of it. You want your driveway. Well, it's really old, so you want to pave it. You want to, seal it. And all these things are products. That means you have to go to the store to buy that product. There's so many jobs that are just, it's just a ripple effect. It keeps going and going and going, and then the money changes hands. If that worker then that comes over to fix your place has more money, then he's going to spend it. He's going to go to the restaurant. He's going to go to the movie theater and so on. But when one thing stops, the whole engine starts to slow down. And that's what happens in any recession. It could come from anywhere. But if one thing starts to slow down, it starts to drag everything down with it. And last but not least, something I talk about all the time. I've been ridiculed literally thousands and thousands of times as I've done this YouTube channel. It doesn't matter to me because I'm going to just continue to bring it up anyway. California lost more residents to other states than it got last year. About 130,000 more residents left California for other states last year than came here from them, as high costs left many residents without a college degree looking for an exit. All right. They went to places like Texas, by the way. And I know a lot of Texans say, those in California, you can stay there. I've seen that comment hundreds of times, in fact. But essentially, what I wanted to talk about was the fact that when you have something that's become too expensive, how does the average person deal with it? Well, in this case here, they can move away. They can go around and try to take on a second job. They can get a side hustle, as they call it. You can do what you need to. You can live in a dorm type situation, which I've covered before, but ultimately, as life becomes more expensive, it becomes more difficult, and nothing is being done. What do the people want? Well, they want more money from the government. They want subsidies. They want rebates. They want government assistance. How about we stop that and we stop pushing the asset prices up to these ridiculous levels, and then everybody can afford what they need? No, you can't buy a private jet, but you'll be able to afford the average home if you have the average salary. Why can't we get reality to be restored for a period of time at least? But no, and no. During the recession, things started to come down. They almost hit fair value. Perhaps you could say that real estate was close to fair value, almost. But people didn't have jobs. They were ruined at this time, a lot of people. So it didn't even out. And then we had people's wages that stayed stagnant for a long time as employers were saying, look, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't give you a raise right now. I know this, seen it with my own eyes, heard it with my own ears. Sorry, it's a recession. Can't give you a raise this time around. Maybe next year. Next year comes. Sorry, still happening. Maybe next year. And those words get repeated over and over again. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. And you give me a thumbs up, it helps to support the channel. So I do appreciate that very much. Remember that less than 10% of people who watch my videos are giving thumbs up. But the thumbs up is something that you could do to support me. So please hit that button. Click the like button. I do appreciate it. And last but not least, if you want the financial education that you were not taught in school, these 2 books have it all. You're going to learn everything from A to Z, the foundation, how to make money, and so on. Check it out. Link is in the description. If you're more interested in the audiobook version, you can get that at themoneygps.com.